In the name of God, I am Kaman Kashi, and I am here with the fifth part of the training on international trade for you. Considering that we have already discussed the different types of goods, I decided to dedicate this part of the training to introducing abandoned goods, rejected goods, and smuggled goods. Because in our previous lessons, we have briefly mentioned these important topics, and I truly thought that before we move on to other significant subjects, we should thoroughly discuss them here and get fully and completely acquainted with them. So stay with me. First, we will define abandoned goods and see what exactly abandoned goods are. When goods initially enter customs warehouses, the permitted storage period for them inside these designated customs warehouses is typically 3 months. However, if the owners of the goods or the international transport companies involved come forward and present valid, compelling reasons to the customs authorities for wanting to keep their valuable goods in customs for a longer duration than the initially permitted period, and if the Customs Department agrees to this request and the relevant storage and other associated fees are duly paid, this standard 3 month period can be officially extended for up to 2 more additional months. This entire period is precisely calculated from the exact time the goods physically enter the relevant warehouse, meaning the countdown officially starts as soon as the goods are brought into the warehouse. Normally, it's a standard 3 months, but if the owner or the transport companies provide legitimate reasons for requiring a longer period and the customs authorities approve, the goods can remain within the customs warehouses for up to 2 additional months. When this specified deadline expires and is subsequently exceeded, the goods then become subject to the strict rules and regulations concerning abandoned goods and must be promptly handed over to the Organization for Collection and Sale of State-Owned Properties. There are several significant reasons why goods may unfortunately become abandoned. For example, the owners may not possess the necessary financial liquidity to pay the required fees for the complex customs procedures and for releasing the goods from customs. Another common reason could be that they lack the necessary health or standard certifications, and therefore cannot legally obtain the required permits to release their goods from customs. Other similar contributing factors can also cause goods to remain indefinitely in customs and not be properly cleared or processed. When goods are officially declared abandoned and subsequently handed over to the Organization for Collection and Sale of State-Owned Properties, they can be sold in one of the following distinct ways. They may be publicly auctioned, put up for written bidding, or sold through retail channels, and in this manner their ultimate fate is determined. Now, what exactly are returned goods? Returned goods are items that, due to being prohibited, unauthorized, or not matching the relevant permits, cannot be cleared and under no circumstances can be released from customs. So, what are we forced to do with it? We have to return it abroad. What are the factors that might prevent goods from being cleared? Or the failure to issue a standard certificate, or not having a health certificate, or the import of the goods being prohibited in the country, not having a phytosanitary certificate, the owner's decision, sometimes the owner changes their mind and doesn't want to clear the goods from customs, or the goods don't match the order. Sometimes we see that the goods don't correspond to the registered order, and other such factors that force the owner to return the goods. Next, we will discuss smuggled goods and their penalties. First, we will define smuggled goods together, and then we will examine their penalties. What exactly are smuggled goods? If prohibited goods, which if you recall we previously defined as items whose import and export are strictly forbidden by law, are illicitly bought, sold, or stored, then the serious act of smuggling has indeed taken place, and the individual who engages in this illegal activity is commonly called a smuggler. When a particular good is traded without the explicit permission of the government, or is secretly brought into or clandestinely taken out of the country's established borders, then the unlawful act of smuggling of goods has certainly occurred. This act of smuggling occurs when the movement of goods happens in violation of existing restrictions or prohibitions, or contrary to the laws that have been established. For example, if we import or export a permitted good without paying the relevant customs duties and tariffs, it is considered smuggling. If you recall when we discussed transit, we said that whether it's domestic or international transit, the destination customs must confirm receipt of the goods. Otherwise, the goods are considered smuggled. Why is that? Because if you look at the first part of the definition, it says buying, selling, and holding. That means in reality it's not clear what happened to the goods. Was it the driver who had them? Was it the company that had them? What happened to them? And in fact, here the company is acting as a trustee, responsible for delivering the goods safely and intact to the destination. Until the customs at the destination confirms receipt, the status of the goods is uncertain, and this can be considered an example of smuggling. Also, remember that in transportation, we always say that any false or incorrect declaration is equivalent to smuggling. That means if we declare the quantity or weight of the goods differently from what it actually is, we are essentially committing smuggling. And finally, it says that in all these definitions, goods refers to anything that, according to most people and social norms, has economic value and people are willing to pay money for it. So this is also the definition of goods as used in the definitions we've discussed here. Well, dear friends, we've reached the end of section 5 in this part. I hope this part has been useful and informative for you and that you've made good use of it.